You overthinking again? Same. If you're an introvert or a shy human, come join us.
We're learning to grow and take up space. We're your hosts. I'm Kay.
And I'm M. Welcome, everyone. This is episode 45. And today we are talking about self love, but more from the perspective of how we're going to move forward with it, how we're embracing it. And
Yeah, so Em and I have been on this self love journey for quite a few years, and we've been talking a lot about how we are trying to love ourselves more so that we can become the people that we want to be. And all of this got us asking ourselves, is self love a choice? If you are also on your self love journey, then come join us. Let's just get this started. So, Em, I think it would be a good beginning to kind of start with how has your self-love journey overall look like?
I think overall it's been a tough one. I've always remembered sort of like judging myself for X, Y, and Z reasons. And obviously external things, but also internally, there was a lot of questioning of why I was doing something, why I didn't do something. And then that throughout the years just turned into like a self hate sort of vibe. But if we're taking it from like way before, as a kid, you don't go too deep into, oh, I hate myself right now because you don't have that concept yet. And it's just, I think, micro things that as a kid you start doing, or for better lack of a word, you don't do, that start affecting yourself and start compounding and building through the years where it just fully blooms into not loving yourself. But recently, I feel like my self love journey has been trending up as opposed to being in the dumps. But yeah, I'm very curious to know, what about you?
I feel like for me it was pretty consistent up to a few years ago. And when I say consistent, I mean it was consistently low in the dumps, in the trash can. I lacked a lot of self love and confidence. I think that as a kid, similar to you, I didn't have a concept of self love. I just existed. And then getting older, experiencing life, and becoming aware of the fact that other people perceive you, other people can judge you, becoming more aware of um, society's expectations of how you should act, how you should look, family expectations, friends. I mean, just everywhere there's expectations of who you should be and how you should look. I started to become extremely self conscious, and that took a toll on my self love. And then just recently, in the past few years, I feel like it's been trending up very slowly, but thankfully making that turn towards the path of self love. And I know I just mentioned confidence and self love in the same sentence because I kind of think they go hand in hand. What is your take on them?
Well, I kind of see them almost as like the same thing. I feel like if you're confident enough to do something, wouldn't there be a level of self-love there because you acted upon something that you believed to?
You bring up a very good point that if you are doing something for yourself, like for example, we'll take what we're doing as an example. We decided to start a podcast, right? It was really hard. We did not have the confidence to do it, but we just decided to go for it. Wouldn't that mean, isn't that like a symptom of our self love because we're taking an action that we think will fulfill us, will make us feel
Yeah,
good
I
about ourselves?
I definitely agree. And now that you're mentioning that example, in the past few weeks, maybe half a month, I've been questioning a lot about my self-love. And sometimes when we go into those internal thoughts, we get so clouded and we don't see the small things. And you're mentioning this, and this is literally a clear example of us choosing self-love and doing something for ourselves. And I hadn't seen it like that.
I didn't either because literally up to a few minutes ago, I thought that you could be confident and not have self love. But no, I think they really do go hand in hand. Like you're taking action towards something that you want, which requires confidence. comes from a level of you thinking that you're worthy, that you deserve this thing. And if you think that you deserve this thing, that's a level of self love, no?
Yeah, no, for sure. And also, now that you mentioned this is also making me question what is my concept of self-love. I think I was just projecting it to being like a physical appearance of self-love, you know? But thinking on what you're saying of like taking action for something that we want to do, that's a form of self-love. The whole thing of me going on these little dates that I do weekly, that's a form of self-love. And I'm doing it consistently and I'm building that habit. So that means that it's a form of self-love.
Yeah, you're treating yourself. It's an investment of time and energy, right? And you're pouring that to yourself. I do have this thought in my head right now that we both come from extremely low self love to, I think it's been building up, right? It's been improving. And what better confirmation of that being this project that we're on right now? Because 10 years ago, I don't think I would have done this. Like, I wouldn't have had the confidence to do it.
I guess this is just a clear example of how harsh we are
Mhm.
with ourselves and how like bottlenecked we are in some views that we think this is the end of it because there's no change, there's nothing. But because we have that view, we don't see the external things that are happening around you or that you are impacting, there is real growth there. And I'm sure that whoever's listening to this might be in the same boat in the sense that they think that they're failing at life, they're doing this all wrong, that they're just not worthy enough to do anything. But maybe it is a choice to do, and hopefully where you can reflect on it.
Yeah, I think that when you're in the middle of moving towards the life that you want, if you come from a background of being super critical and judgmental and thinking the worst of yourself, like we have, it's hard to give ourselves credit and it's hard to notice the positive changes that are happening because we're so programmed to just see the bad. Like, I think we're thinking, oh, we're not absolutely obsessed with ourselves, so we have no self love. But compared to where we were before, there's progress.
Yeah, that is true.
You had made a point earlier where you said that you feel like you connected self love a lot to the physical. And I feel like I have too. I think, if anything, I had the least self love on my external versus my internal. Growing up, I was super skinny, and that was always a main insecurity of mine. It was my biggest insecurity. And I think somewhere along the lines I kind of brought that internally. Also, I don't know if anybody else can relate if you come from a culture similar to us where you are Latina and you didn't grow up to meet the standard of what it means to be that in this country, which is like you're super outgoing, you're curvy, you're exuberant, like you just take up so much space. I was like, well, why am I shy? Why am I awkward? Why am I an introvert? But I don't fit that. And I always judged myself very harshly for that. And growing up, I didn't know a lot of Latina women or girls out there who shared my struggles. Like, the ones that were around, they were all curvy and took up space, and I was just like, "I wanna be like that, but I can't," you know?
I think similar to you, I it was more around the lines of looking too young and not being taken seriously. Obviously, the skinny part too, but yeah, I think that definitely took a toll on how I saw myself. Now that I'm thinking about it, like, I don't see why that should have been a problem. Well, absolutely now I see why that's not a problem because I have a voice, I have an opinion. I am who I am now. But why was it so hard before, though?
Did you think that you looked like, you said did you say a kid or young?
Well, kid, young, just not my age.
To what age did you feel that way?
Honestly, until my, like, maybe mid-20s, and I feel like maybe that just halted me in, like, pursuing maybe romantic relationships, just anything that's kind of serious, you know, that an adult would do. Because I always thought, "Oh, I'm not good enough for it. So why would they choose me? I don't look the part."
because you thought that they would think you look like a kid.
Mhm. Or that I wasn't, like, responsible, or I wasn't serious about it. Like, why would they hire someone that looks like me as opposed to someone that looks serious? If that makes sense. That doesn't make
Mm.
sense. I'm thinking about it, and it's totally
I well,
bonkers.
but that's the mindset you were in, and I can't relate, and it doesn't make sense to me. Um, but I can relate in the sense where I remember feeling so self-conscious when people would touch my shoulders. When my friends, sometimes they would wanna lay their heads on my shoulders, and I would, like, get away from them doing that quite a few times. There were times where I left it because I felt like a dick always doing that. But as they were laying their heads, I kept thinking in my head, "Oh my god, they're just thinking all I feel are bones. Why can she have more cushion in her shoulders?" Like, the
It's so funny.
ruminating thoughts, or when people hugged me, I would feel so insecure thinking that they thought, "Oh, I can feel like all her ribs, her backbones, just like everything." It took over my mind so much, probably till in my well, to be honest, even right now, I still feel self-conscious if people lay on my shoulder because I don't have the most cushiony shoulder, okay? Anyways, but I would say that that definitely started decreasing, probably similar to you in my mid-20s. Yeah, but growing up, right, this physical insecurity, I felt like eventually that made me think that I wasn't good enough on the inside either, along with other things. I guess I never felt like womanly because of my skinniness.
Same. I mean, obviously, apart from other things, I never felt like I would be taken seriously as a woman. So therefore, I never leaned into it. And I mean, that takes a toll in your self love later on in life.
Yeah, it's tough, it's tough when we live in a world where people are gonna comment on the way we look. People are a lot more critical and harsh. So I think that really spending the time to learn how to love yourself is so important. It always is, but even more so now because, well, this actually leads us to the question, is self love a choice? We'll start with you, Em. What do you think?
I think in itself, as a choice, is yes, it's a choice, but I'm I'm trying to grasp the idea of, if it's a choice, then why can't we act upon it? So if self-love was a choice and you choose to love yourself, why can't it just happen?
I definitely thought self love was a choice. However, my mind is shifting. I think that self love is partially a choice.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the first step. Um, because then you're right. Why wouldn't people choose it? Why wouldn't we choose to love ourselves, right? Of course, there's many different reasons why we couldn't, because we like self-hate, we self-loathe. But like once you've actually worked through all that stuff, like why, like we're doing, why isn't it easier? But maybe it's because is
Mhm.
self-love a habit? Like we have to grow into the habit of loving ourselves, maybe. And a choice, it's a one moment thing, right? Or you can choose, I'm going to choose to love myself, but then what happens after you say yes, I choose to love myself? It's about making this into an actionable, concrete, what am I trying to say? I'm like a it's like self-love. Okay, they say love is an action, self-love is an
Well, like,
action too, right?
yeah, I mean, like you were saying in the beginning, like, it maybe it's not just a, like, a question that can be answered in one go. It's something that is a habit that needs to be built.
And that's another good point. I feel like it's just like all these daily actions that we're doing that we think is just part of life, but it actually is form of self-love. Self-love is not only internal. I do think that the external plays a big factor. I will probably say 50-50. That's why people say sometimes when you dress good, you feel good, right? And your self-love goes up in those moments. So maybe it's not something that's consistent all the time. It's something that we have to actively work on every day.
Yeah. And if you are listening, you come to that realization as well that like anything in life, nothing is completely black or white. There's like always a middle ground and something that you can work on. And with anything, self love is something that needs to be built, that needs to be catered, that needs to be nurtured.
Yeah. Love on yourself in whatever way feels best for you. And if you're not sure what that looks like for you, start exploring. Try a self date like M does. I myself am trying to make this into a routine for me. And if you can't do a weekly, try it once a month, once every 2 months, whatever works for you. But even if you could just give yourself a self hug and actually feel it, like feel yourself hugging yourself and telling yourself kind words, that may seem like nothing, but it does make a difference.
I'm actually using this as a reminder for myself. I have been battling with it a lot harshly lately. But yeah, I invite you guys to do the same.
And if you can't see it right now in this moment on how you can get to that point, if you're doing the small things every day, even if it's one small micro thing a day to show yourself love, whether that's getting enough sleep, then it's going to build up over time and you'll get there. And just like the way you think will start changing. But I think it all starts with just choosing. Like, just say today, I want to start choosing self love and then practice that every day.
Right. And like, well, I think we're gonna start wrapping it up. Hopefully, you guys received a little bit of comfort knowing that even though you guys passed through those dark days, there is a bright outcome when you allow yourself to choose that outcome. And what better way to do that if you have someone that can help you get through those unraveling moments or those moments where you go to that scary place and you don't know what to do. Gracefully, I have Kay here to do that with. And I know that not everyone has someone. If you don't, we're here. We are always an email away, a message away, a comment away. And if you need that supporting hand, hopefully we'll help you in your journey too.
With that said, thank you all so much for listening. Don't forget that we post on Fridays. And most importantly, as always, we're rooting for you. Bye.
Bye, guys.